had a lot of neck issues as a result. Herniated most of the discs in my neck. So being able to mobilize that in different directions, especially laterally, that takes some practice. I know it looks like you go clubbing with it, right? But that lateral flexion is really important. And if you want to feel for it, initially you'll start to do this, leading with your eyes because we're binocular, right? But take your left ear and move your left ear to the left wall like you're listening to somebody that's next to you. And drop down your right shoulder like you did in the prior exercise. And feel how that lengthens out. It takes about 2 weeks of practice before you get that lateral flexion back. And again, those compressed tissues squeeze out your nutrition and your lubrication. So try the opposite direction, right ear to right wall, drop down your left shoulder. I know some of you are doing that. Okay, and that's okay, because the body wants to achieve what it sees in movement, so it'll move whatever it has to in order to accomplish that. We're trying to isolate it, push our shoulders down so we can isolate it just to that lateral flexion in the neck. Okay, and relax. Enough on the neck. Enough on the neck. Let's go a little bit lower. Let's check all of our overhead range of motion and see how we're doing. If you feel any sharp pains in the front of your shoulder, lower your arm down until you don't feel that. But what I'd like to do is have you lift your arm, if you can see, lift it up as close to your ear as possible. If you can lock out your elbow, great. If you can't feel how to lock out your elbow overhead, imagine you're holding onto a rope, okay, overhead. That'll help you. Good. We're almost all there. Let's do both arms. Now, did you see what happened? As soon as you put both arms up overhead, they start to come down forward. And there's a reason for that, because most of our... And keep your arms up. Okay. Because as we put both arms up overhead, the tension in our mid-back starts to bring it forward. So what I want you to do is drop down your second arm for a second, one arm down. And we're going to start with elbows locked, holding onto that rope from overhead, like a monkey, okay? And start with circles. But, now see what happens? As soon as we start trying to move our shoulder, our elbow unlocks. And we're trying to accomplish the movement somewhere. Or our wrist unlocks. And that becomes our shoulder circle. So we have to lock out our wrist, lock out our elbow, hold the shoulder down, and start to rotate just from the shoulder. That's what keeps that overhead motion. If you find that some of you are doing this, you're snarling, and it's not because you're angry about the range of motion, it's because the muscles connecting across the joints, as you move into that back motion, it lifts your nose. So that causes that snarl. Let your shoulder shake it out for a second. We'll do the opposite side. I'm going to try and talk as long as possible to make you do as many as I can. Okay, again, if you're snarling at me, try and relax those muscles in your neck. Relax the muscles in your face. Okay, overhead circles, pretty simple, right? Okay, we're going to make it a little bit more challenging. Relax that down for a second, shake that out. Again, if you don't use that overhead range of motion, it will slowly deteriorate until you go to reach the peanut butter in the second and you can't get to it. The body loses the connection to send the signal there. It's not even muscle. It's not that you're not strong enough to get it. It's that the connection between your brain and sending that motor function, you can't reach for it. So we have to keep stimulating that, even if it's only several repetitions. If you sit at a chair, if you sit behind the computer, if you sit behind the couch, just because you're not standing up doesn't mean that you can't get joint nutrition. You can still be in a chair and still send nutrition throughout your body and start to abolish most of the pain that you're experiencing. Fitness is something else. Before you even attempt fitness, you should have that joint decompressed. You should have the lubrication in there, so that you can gain 100% benefit from the exercise. Okay, let's grab a hold of our motorcycle handlebars. Actually, you know what, let's make it a mini bike. Okay, now, on the mini bike, we're going to take our shoulder roll, but we're going to try and hold on to the handlebar, because if you roll your shoulders like this, you're going to steer right off the track, right? So keep your bars straight, don't turn the bike at all. and roll one shoulder for 5 repetitions. Don't unlock it. There's an elbow roll. This is your shoulder. There you go. Lock it out and force your body to remember the range of motion. Again, some of you are starting to snarl at me. Either you're very angry at me or this muscle's tight. I hope you're angry at me because I'd like you to relax that muscle. Okay, other shoulder. Remember, you're going to steer right off the track over there. You're going to bump into your co-pilot. Keep those handlebars straight. Adjust that shoulder. Okay, now comes the tricky one. I want you to alternate. So move your right. When you come all the way forward, move your left. My mic is picking up a lot of that noise, so sorry about that. And that's where we start to lose. As we go from one side of the body to the next, we start to seize up because the connection between our spine and our body is broken. So if we just start with one, then the next, one, and then the next, that'll start sending the signal back. If you get frustrated, here's very important. I can't imagine anyone getting more frustrated than me when I was a kid, because the ability to even do basic physical skills was beyond me. And I understand frustration. I can relate to that. It's only frustration that's in our way when we lose motor function. The more frustrated we become, there's a direct corollary to frustration and tension. So as we become frustrated, the tension actually slows down the range of motion and makes it slighter and slighter and slighter. So if you find that you're getting frustrated, you've found a place that you're actually doing something important. If that makes sense. When you get emotional about movement, you know that you're doing something important. This is a direct relationship. Okay. We'll let the scientists talk about that. We'll do the pedestrian movement. Let's go a little bit lower to our chest. Mid-back is one of the most stable points because we have this armored cage, right? So we tend not to move it. But first of all, our ribs are designed to open up like big French bay doors, so we never truly get a full breath of air. The more tense that this becomes, the more we sit in this forward flexion, the less breath that we have. So we have to start by practicing. I like to think of the mnemonic of lifting my heart up toward the ceiling without pinching my shoulder blades back. Look at the difference. If I pinch my shoulder blades back, I'm just becoming tense. But if I inhale my heart towards the ceiling, my ribs open up. So let's start by keeping our chin down so we can actually focus here. Because if I inhale and drop my head back, I'm rolling much lower. But if I keep my chin down and inhale my heart toward the ceiling, keep on inhaling. And don't hold your breath, but as it leaks back out, just sniff it back in through the nose and keep on sniffing like that, okay, for just a few more seconds. And what I want you to feel is that tension around your chest, right, start to melt. Okay, now exhale, roll your shoulders forward and reach your mid-back into the chair. So press it all the way back. And as you do, reach the shoulders forward if you can. Drive your shoulders down to the ground. You can let your head hang down. I'm not going to do that or I'll be very loud on the mic. All right, just relax down. Exhale and pull your navel towards your spine. And shrug your shoulders a little bit like you're rolling them forward. And we're going to inhale back immediately.